Dobrodošli u Dogovor. Posle duže pauze ponovo smo sa vama. I dalje ćemo se baviti aktualnim temama, pre svega odnosima između Srba i Albanaca, ali i dijalogom i mogućim dogovorima. Period za nama na Kosovu, nažalost, obeležili su loši događaji i krize. Međutim, ono što je pozitivno za građane, kako za Srbe, tako za Albance, ali i ostale narode koji žive na Kosovu, je približavanje Kosova u dobijanju vizne liberalizacije. Hoće li se to desiti tokom švedskog predsjedavanja Evropskom unijom i koliko će ova zemlja pomoći Kosovu u evrointegracijama? O tome ću više razgovarati sa ambasadorom Švedske na Kosovu, sa gospodinom Jonasom Vesterlundom. Gospodine Vesterlund, hvala vam što ste izdvojili vreme da govorite za Dogovor.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Imate značajno, odnosno bogato diplomatsko iskustvo. Radili ste u Iraku, Afganistanu, bili ste u Hrvatskoj, ali i u Beču, Briselu i Njujorku. Koliko su ta iskustva koje ste stekli primenjiva na ovaj deo Zapadnog Balkana?
Well, certainly my experience from working with local Serbs in Eastern Slavonia during the UN mission in Eastern Slavonia, that's the most applicable, I think. As you may recall, that during that time we were working to integrate Eastern Slavonia into Croatia, and we the UN handed over that area back to Croatia. So that's a valuable experience that could be used here, certainly.
Boravili ste i na Kosovu i to kao mladi diplomata. Pre više od 2 decenije učestvovali ste u uspostavljanju misije OEBS-a nakon rata ovde. Koliko se Kosovo promenilo od tada, osim što je proglasilo nezavisnost?
Well, it's a mixed feeling coming back to the Western Balkans 23 years later. As you said, I was here in Kosovo during 99, just after the war. And as we said before, I lived in Vukovar in Croatia for 2 years. A big change, of course, when it comes to Pristina. It's even difficult to recognize myself walking around in Pristina. I have so many restaurants, coffee shops, and new buildings everywhere. So I'm very glad to see that. It's also interesting to see that the economy has been going on quite well for the past year here in Kosovo. So I'm very glad to see that. On the other hand, I must point out that I did cross the bridge in 99, I remember, with some French troops on the bridge in Mitrovica. I remember going across the bridge, and I remember a number of local Kosovo Serbs approaching me when I went from the south side to the north side in leather jackets and questioning me when I was crossing the bridge. So I'm a bit disappointed that I'm 23 years later have to do the same journey.
Ok, dakle, odmah po dolasku na Kosovo vi ste zapravo posjetili opštinu Severna Mitrovica. Šta su vam rekli, sa kakvim se izazovima suočava ova lokalna samouprava?
Well, there's been a number of issues being discussed, of course. I think above all is the social situation for many of the local citizens in the four municipalities. It's about employment. It's about establishing new companies. I think the social conditions, the social services, that is the biggest challenge that I noticed when I was there.
A da li je bezbednost takođe veliki izazov za sever Kosova?
When I came in mid-August and had my first talks, that was not high on the agenda. Sadly, that has changed, of course, as we all know, in November and December. But back then that was not on top of the agenda.
Dobro, s obzirom da ste boravili ovde i da ste posjetili most, verujem da se sećate šta se sve događalo na glavnom Ibarskom mostu tokom 1999. godine, odnosno nakon perioda rata. Pretpostavljam da se sećate i čuvara mosta. Jedan od tih čuvara je bio političar Oliver Ivanović. Pre par dana je obeleženo 5 godina od njegovog ubistva. Zanima me kako gledate na to ubistvo i zbog čega se međunarodna zajednica na Kosovu, zapravo zbog čega međunarodna zajednica na Kosovu ne insistira više na tome da se pronađu počinioci ovog zločina.
I also understand that his assistant was killed 4 years before himself. So that's in fact 2 murders that we're talking about. I'm also deeply disappointed that not more have been done about this and that we don't have the perpetrators in jail for this. I think we need to step up the efforts. The process is in the hands of the prison authorities, and I certainly hope that they can find the perpetrators. It's a slightly challenged to do this given the political situation at the moment, but I can only stress that they need to intensify their efforts to find the perpetrators and put them in jail. This has had serious consequences for the situation, the local political situation in the 4 municipalities. His voice would have been needed now, given the circumstances now and last year.
A koliko Oliver Ivanović zapravo nedostaje u ovako kriznim situacijama na severu Kosova, kao što su bile ove tokom novembra i decembra? Pretpostavljam da ga se sećate još iz tog perioda kada ste 1999. godine bili ovde na Kosovu.
No, I do. Of course, as in any democracy, we are in favor of a strong political pluralism in a country. You should have many political parties that can debate the situation, that is helpful for the citizens, that is good for the situation to have many different voices. As it is now, there seem to be a very limited amount of people speaking up. So it would have been good to have him debating these issues now. So he's dearly missed, absolutely.
A da li bi recimo Švedska podržala ideju da se istragom njegovog ubistva bavi recimo neka međunarodna komisija?
We have not taken any position on that, so that's too early to answer. I can just say that the prison authorities will need to intensify their efforts, and if it is not possible to find the perpetrators, we need to look at the issue again.
Dobro, situacija na severu Kosova je, kao što smo i maločas zaključili, vrlo komplikovana, napeta i zabrinjavajuća. Prošlu godinu su obeležili brojni incidenti. Bila je kriza oko tablica, desio se izlazak Srba iz kosovskih institucija, iz opštine, policije i pravosuđa. Postavljene su pa uklonjene barikade. Ko proizvodi krizu na severu Kosova po vašem mišljenju i koliko toj krizi doprinose zapaljive izjave koje često imamo priliku da čujemo od predstavnika institucija kako u Prištini, tako i u Beogradu?
No, it doesn't, of course. I'm also here disappointed over all these short-term crises that has been going on since I came in mid-August. In fact, it started end of July last year before I came, because I came in mid-August. We need to focus on the much bigger pictures. We need to focus on the normalization dialogue. I understand that Mr. Lajčák and Mr. Escobar is on their way to the region again to continue the discussion. That is what we need to focus on. We do not need to focus on the license plates at the moment. So we need to avoid all these short-term crises and focus on a comprehensive agreement between Kosovo and Serbia.
Dobro, da se vratimo na krizu. Da li očekujete da će se policajci iz srpske zajednice vratiti u kosovsku policiju? Mislim na policajce sa severa Kosova koji su je napustili.
Well, as you know, this is a difficult question. I understand that the government in Pristina has set up certain criteria, and that anyone could apply to become a police officer in the region. But I also understand that many of the police officers that have resigned will not be able to meet this criteria because there's a certain age limit to this, that is difficult. That is difficult, right? Because according to the Ahtisaari plan, there needs to be in minority areas there need to be representation of police officers from that particular minority. But we are trying to encourage as many Kosovo Serbs as possible to apply for these jobs. So they will be filled by those who speak the Serbian language. So I hope we can balance this in a right way. I understand that EULEX, for example, will participate in a campaign to reach out to many Kosovo Serbs to apply. So I really hope that you will have the same amount of Kosovo Serbs in the police force as you had before. Mm-hmm. But it is a complex issue that many of the police officers resigned and can now not reapply.
Trenutno su na severu Kosova raspoređene i specijalne jedinice kosovske policije, od kojih tamošnji Srbi, moram da kažem, zaziru. Napravljene su baze. Nedavno je usvojena odluka o eksproprijaciji zemljišta na severu Kosova, na mjestima gdje su izgrađene te baze. Srbi se tome protive. Kako vi vidite to? I zašto se Srbi toliko plaše specijalnih jedinica kosovske policije?
Well, my understanding is that these are special forces within the Kosovo police and not the Kosovo security forces, just to make that distinguish between those two different forces. The Kosovo police is entitled to be in northern Kosovo and to move around freely in all of Kosovo. They need, as always, of course, as any police force in the world, they need to treat all the Kosovo citizens respectfully. They should, as much as possible, to speak in the Serbian language as well, whenever it's possible. But they should treat all citizens with full respect.
Mm-hmm. Ok. Međutim, nakon događaja na severu iz Prištine smo mogli da čujemo glasove koji kažu da su prekinute i posljednje veze sa Srbima na severu Kosova. Zanima me kako to da za 20 godina Srbi nisu integrisani u kosovske institucije. Pre svega mislim na Srbe na severu Kosova. Da li je to propust predstavnika kosovskih institucija pre svega?
And you mean overall in Kosovo, right? Not just in the four municipalities, but in the government institutions as well.
Da, mislim, ali pre svega mislim na Srbe koji žive na severu Kosova.
Well, in the four municipalities, you know as well as I do, of course, we have had good cooperation between the government of Pristina and the four municipalities ever since 2015, and perhaps even earlier than that. You have had a good cooperation between the municipalities. That has, I mean, with the decision on the 5th of November, we no longer have that collaboration. So that has been working fine up until the 5th of November.
A šta se to promenilo?
Well, we are backsliding sadly on this. You know, we're going not forward, but we are going back on this. Well, sadly, many of the Kosovo institutions are no longer functioning in the four municipalities. And that's very difficult. Well, you mentioned the police before. Now we have a security vacuum at the moment in these four municipalities. If you are a citizens in the four municipalities, where do you go if you want to report a crime? Where do you go if you want to report domestic violence? So there's a security vacuum now, and that needs to be filled as soon as possible. When it comes to the non-majority representation in the governmental institutions in Pristina, that is way too low. There needs to be many more of the non-majorities represented in all of the ministries in Pristina, including the possibility to speak both languages.
A ko mora da pokaže dobru volju da bi prestao taj bezbednosni vakuum koji trenutno postoji na severu Kosova? Da li su to samo Srbi ili to pre svega taj korak treba da načini kosovska vlada?
Well, I believe that both parties need to show goodwill, of course. You know, you need to learn. You need to learn from the past, but you need to look at the future. You need to find common grounds, and I think these collaborations that you had in the four municipalities, where you had good cooperation between the government in Pristina and the four municipalities, that was an excellent cooperation. So I'm very sad that Srpska lista decided to withdraw from this cooperation.
Ok, gospodine Vesterlund, kakvo je vaše mišljenje o poverenju Srba sa severa Kosova, ali i Srba uopšte u međunarodne organizacije, odnosno zanima me imaju li Srbi po vašem mišljenju poverenja u međunarodnu zajednicu na Kosovu? Posle svega što se dešavalo prethodnih meseci na severu Kosova.
Well, I think you would need to ask them, of course, and not a diplomat about this. But I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so that they have trust. I believe that both KFOR and EULEX handled the situation, quite a volatile situation, with the barricades during the Christmas and New Year's Eve. End of December, I should say, in a very good manner. So I think and hope that they have respect for KFOR, that they have been fulfilling the mandate in its best way, and that they've been very neutral in fulfilling its mandate, and that has shown during these events at the end of December.
U redu, ovdje ćemo za trenutak da zastanemo s razgovorom. Predlažem da čujemo šta Srbi sa severa Kosova zaista misle o ovoj temi, odnosno o odnosu prema međunarodnoj zajednici. Anketu su priredile kolege sa portala Kosev.
Kako je poverenje građana u međunarodnu zajednicu nakon najnovije krize na severu Kosova?
Pa isto kao što i ranije bilo, mislim da ga nema. generalno, znači zato što međunarodna zajednica do sada se pokazala kao neko ko nije garant mira za nas Srbe, nego više uvek kada je taj tas treba da odluči na nekoj vagi, uvek je na strani Prištine, tako da nemamo neko preveliko poverenje, znači u njih, ajde da kažemo od organizacije jedino možda u KFOR imamo neko poverenje, koliko toliko poverenje, znači, a u druge i nemamo ga više, znači to je to tako da, kao što znate, Kosovo je generalno neka vrsta protektorata i šta oni odluče, tako će i biti, to smo videli sa zadnje dve krize koje su se desile na severu Kosova, šta su odlučili u ambasadama u Prištini, to se i desilo na kraju. U međunarodnim odnosima nema prijateljstva niti ljubavi, nego čistog interesa. Kakav je njihov interes, tako će i biti, nažalost, a mi smo samo pijuni u toj igri. Trebalo bi međunarodna zajednica malo da proba da promeni svoj stav, znači da promeni svoj stav, da prestane da se igra više šargarepe, da nam daje štapu i šargarepe, znači da malo, da nam da neki ustupak od 99. godine, ja ne znam, znači da je međunarodna zajednica dala nama bilo kakav ustupak, nego samo nam nešto oduzimala. Ti nekome stalno oduzimaš nešto, znači tako da je pitanje kako možemo mi da imamo poverenje prema njima i uopšte da gajimo neke simpatije prema njima. Oni moraju da svoje strategije da malo promene, da razmisle kako mogu da pridobiju srpsku zajednicu i uopšte da srpska zajednica promeni svoj stav prema njima.
Ako postoji, mislim da je sve manje. Jer mislim da je poverenja bilo mnogo više ranije, da su ljudi mnogo više verovali, da kažem, u te njihove izjave, u njihova predviđanja, u te priče koje se tiču saradnje multietničkog života, ali mislim da je strpljenje pri kraju. Što ne znači da ga nema, ali mislim da obe strane treba da urade nešto da poverenje bude obostrano. U principu ja mislim da ništa od onog što su oni bar nama obećavali, što je vezano za tu njihovu objektivnost, za sve to, ja mislim da je vrlo, vrlo malo toga urađeno da mi nekako poverujemo u to. Kad vam neko priča o tome da će da bude sve med i mleko, samo da se nešto desi i onda se to desi i onda opet iste priče.
Eto. Da li mislite da će nešto dobro da se desi ikada ovde i da će stanje...
Naravno da hoće, pa mora bude dobro. Mislim, znaš što bi... Jel možete vi generalno da kažem da se bavite nečima da ne mislite da će bude dobro?
Mislim da je uopšte na istom nivou i da generalno na međunarodnu zajednicu gledaju kao da je više naklonjena potezima vlade u Prištini nego interesima srpske zajednice na severu. Ipak to poverenje je svako veće od poverenja u kosovske institucije, posebno na severu. Više poverenja, bezbednije se osjećaju kada je ovde vidljivije prisustvo KFOR-a nego prisustvo specijalnih policijskih jedinica koje zapravo deluje zastrašujuće i čini samo se osjećaju još nebezbedno.
Nakon završetka nedavne krize, međunarodna zajednica sve češće ponavlja da bi trebalo sada da se pregovara što više, da treba da se zaključi sporazum, ali poziva na ispunjenje prethodno dogovorenih sporazuma. Kako to vidite?
Međunarodna zajednica je zapravo insistira na sprovođenje sporazuma o zajednici srpskih opština. Međutim, mislim da ljude ne raduje previše sprovođenje tog sporazuma, pre svega zbog toga što bi to značilo nešto manje nego što trenutno imaju, barem na severu.
Ja mislim da je to poverenje dosta poljuljano. Sad zavisi kako se i mi postavimo, naša vlast kako se postavlja prema međunarodne zajednice. I to zavisi. A sad ja se nadam da će na kraju nešto da se završi, bar onoliko koliko bar malo očekujemo od međunarodne zajednice da nam pomogne. Jer nama u stvari treba pomoć ovde. Mislim, Srbima sa Kosova.
Kako je većinsko mišljenje građana na severu Kosova? Da li oni misle da će međunarodna zajednica pomogne ili misle da je naklonjenija Prištini?
Ja kažem, naš narod je ovde dosta izgubio poverenja u međunarodnu zajednicu. To je još od ranije, nije to sad, nego od ranije još. Sad, da li će nešto da se preokrene, da li će međunarodna zajednica da vidi da ipak je srpski narod ovde ugrožen. Obrni, okreni, mi nismo u dobrom položaju.
Dakle, gospodine ambasadore, želite li da se osvrnete na ovo što kažu građani Severa Kosova? Uglavnom su negativni odgovori.
Yes, I can see that, and it's understandable given the situation for the past months, and it's been a long time. As I said before, I'm deeply disappointed myself that after 23 years I'm coming back here and we have the same situation, and the ones who are being caught in the middle here is really the local residents, in particular in the four municipalities in northern Kosovo. So I'm myself deeply disappointed in the situation. However, I do believe, as I said before, that KFOR, EULEX, and the international community, including many of my fellow colleagues, the ambassadors in Pristina, did a very good work during the events, during the barricades, end of December, to calm the situation, and eventually they found a solution that the barricades were lifted, and the situation is much calmer now than before. But we once again, what we need is a final agreement, a normalization agreement between Belgrade and Pristina. That's what we need. So we need to focus on that area.
Ok, doći ćemo do konačnog sporazuma. Međutim, pre toga me zanima, rekli ste malo čas da ste razočarani situacijom koju ste zatekli kada ste se ponovo vratili na Kosovo. Da li mislite da je međunarodna zajednica mogla više da postigne u približavanju Srba i Albanaca na Kosovu za ovih 20 i više godina? Mnogo je novca ovde uloženo, mnogo energije, mnogo razgovora. I opet se nalazimo u ovoj situaciji na ivici sukoba, praktično.
No, I agree with you. I'm like I said, I'm disappointed. I think, though, that the international community has never abandoned the Kosovo here. I mean, we've been here all the time. UNMIK is here with still a fairly strong presence. We have KFOR here with a fairly strong presence as well. And we have EULEX, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, EU mission, globally speaking. So I think you have had full support from the international community side. So in that sense, I disagree. Right? Then you can always look on the end result. And there we also agree that we should have been much closer to a final agreement than we are at the moment.
Švedska je ponovo na čelu Evropske unije, preuzela je predsjedavanje Savetom od Češke. Kako slogan zelenije, sigurnije i slobodnije, koji sublimira 4 prioriteta, bezbednost i jedinstvo, konkurentnost, zelenu i energetsku tranziciju, te demokratske vrednosti i vladavinu prava, može da se primeni na Kosovu?
Well, those are the four global priorities, of course, but they all are applicable to Kosovo as well, right? I mean, take the environment in all of Kosovo. That's something that Sweden, through its development aid, is supporting Kosovo with on a daily basis. We are supporting the Kosovo Environment Agency, for example, and when it comes to competitiveness, we need to have the Kosovo companies to become more competitive, be able to sell on the European market. Rule of law is one of the priorities as well, and that's equally important here in Kosovo as well. You know, there are still a number of reforms that needs to be done here in Kosovo when it comes to the judiciary and the rule of law.
Ajde da se fokusiramo na reč zelenije u ovom sloganu. Kosovo je poprilično zagađeno područje, to se vidi gde god da prođete, ima mnogo divljih deponija i čini se nekako da životna sredina nije prioritet Kosovu. Kako da se to promeni? Da li su potrebna velika ulaganja ili jednostavno promena svesti građana Kosova?
Well, I think you do need a lot of investment when it comes to the energy, of course. We need to focus on having more solar panels, more wind power as well. So definitely we need to phase out some of the coal mines here as well. But also, you mentioned attitude as well. I'm also a bit saddened when you sometimes go to the few lakes that you have here in Kosovo, and it's full of plastic garbage everywhere, and full of plastic bottles everywhere. I mean, it's a two-way street, of course. You can always argue that the municipality and the government should have some more garbage collection with bins everywhere, right? And then it's easier for the citizens to use the bins. But at the same time, there needs to be a change of attitude here in Kosovo as well to safeguard the environment. I'm also, saddened when I come to some of the rivers, be it the Ibar River up in Mitrovica or some of the other rivers in the south near Strpce, when it's full of plastic in the rivers, and that's very sad to see.
Da, upravo ćemo se baviti opštinom Štrpce. Dakle, u jednoj vrsti promotivnog videa koji je objavljen na sajtu švedske ambasade, podržava se očuvanje nacionalnog parka na Šari. Možete li nam nešto reći više o tome?
Well, we support the administration of the Shire National Park. We believe in Sweden that it's also not just a mere fact to protect a national park like Shire, but it's also in order to protect your open society, that people can actually go out in the forest and enjoy the lakes, the rivers, and the wildlife. That's also important from a democratic perspective. So that's why we're doing that. And let's take the Balkan lynx, for example. The Balkan lynx, there are less than 10 of them left in Kosovo. Mm-hmm. So those needs to be safeguarded by with the help of Sweden to better administer the Shire National Park. The Balkan lynx could be safeguarded.
Mm-hmm. Pretpostavljam da znate za izgradnju mini hidrocentrala na Brezovici i to u području nacionalnog parka. Šta mislite o tome? Tamošnji građani i Srbi i Albanci su protestovali i bunili se protiv stavljanja reka u cevi. Zašto međunarodna zajednica nije učinila više da pruži podršku tamošnjim građanima i spreči da se na ovaj način ugrozi životna sredina, pre svega reke na Brezovici?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that situation. Are you saying that the citizens opposed to have hydropower in the river?
Dakle, građani i Srbi i Albanci su protestovali protiv namere kompanija da naprave hidrocentrale, odnosno da reke, čiste reke, stave u cevi i na taj način proizvode električnu energiju.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this situation, but we have the same discussion in Sweden for this. I mean, we have some part of the population who would like to safeguard the rivers, but there is also a need to have more energy. So this has been a huge discussion in Sweden, whether or not you should put hydro plants in many of the main rivers in Sweden or not. At the moment, we probably have half of them with hydro plants, but there's still some resistance. But there's certainly a need to safeguard the rivers, but you have to balance that with the need for more energy as well.
Verujem da vam je poznati slučaj nelegalne gradnje u zoni nacionalnog parka Šar planine i kosovska policija i tužilaštvo su sproveli nekoliko akcija na Brezovici. Uhapšeno je mnogo ljudi, među kojima je i bivši predsjednik opštine Štrpce, Bratislav Nikolić. Dakle, reč je o nelegalnoj gradnji i zloupotrebi službenog položaja. Šta mislite o tome?
No, I praise the government for being brave enough to confiscate these houses and to arrest those people who have built illegal houses. This is pure corruption. So I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister is focusing so much on anti-corruption efforts. So I really praise that decision.
Da se vratimo na predsjedavanje Evropskom unijom. Dakle, Švedska podržava težnje Kosova da postane članica Evropske unije. Ranije ste najavili da će vaša zemlja se baviti aplikacijom Kosova za članstvo tokom svog predsjedavanja u dijalogu pre svega sa ostalim članicama Evropske unije. Tu se misli i na 5 zemalja članica koje nisu priznale kosovsku nezavisnost. Kako to planirate da uradite?
Yes, as we all know, Kosovo handed in an application for EU membership on 15th of December to the Czech EU presidency. Since we took over 1st of January, we are now dealing with that application. Sweden is undertaking consultations with EU members in Brussels to see how we should go about this. The main question is really, should we or should we not bring the application to the European Commission? That is the main question. So we are consulting all the member states, in particular those who have not recognized Kosovo. We'll have to see where this will take us. We're still undertaking these consultations. We will play a very neutral and a professional role in this and listen in to all the other member states.
Koliko je Kosovo blizu ili daleko tom cilju članstva u Evropskoj uniji i šta bi sve Kosovo moralo da uradi na tom putu?
Well, I hear that many people are comparing, the EU application with the normalization dialogue, and whether those two are linked. I mean, everything is linked, of course, but in my mind, the normalization dialogue, that's something that we want to finalize now, as soon as possible, even this spring. And we are really, or at least we ought to be at the end of that process. We have 33 past agreements already. So that process needs to finalize as soon as possible this year. Whereas an EU application, who knows how long time it will take for Kosovo, but if you look on the experience of other applicants, be it in Western Europe or be it in Eastern Europe or be it in the Balkans, it takes time. It's a long road ahead.
Da, Srbija recimo ima u tome iskustva. Ono što najviše zanima građane Kosova, tu mislim i na Albance i na Srbe i na sve one koji nemaju bezvizne pasoše, kada će biti odobrena liberalizacija viza, odnosno kada će građani moći da putuju bez pasoša i hoće li to biti do kraja ove godine kako se očekuje i kako se najavljuje?
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, the question now is with the European Parliament. They have had a first discussion on 12th of January. They will continue this discussion in February, March, April. We will have to see what the parliamentarians what kind of decision they will make.
Da li ste optimista?
Yes, I'm optimistic about this. I think it's looking very good at the moment.
Govorili ste o dijalogu. Dijalog Beograda i Prištine se vodio već više od jedne decenije. U posljednje vreme nekako vidimo da posrednici u dijalogu, pre svega gospodin Miroslav Lajčak, ali sa njim zajedno i gospodin Gabriel Escobar iz Sjedinjenih Američkih Država ovdje dolaze da smiruju krize i ovdje, mislim na Kosovo, ali i odlaze u Beograd sa istim ciljem. Kako vi vidite proces dijaloga trenutno, budući da imate veoma veliko iskustvo kada je medijacija u pitanju? Hoće li skoro doći do nekog kompromisnog rješenja i da li je to proleće kako se nadaju u međunarodnoj zajednici?
Looking at this in a sort of 10-year perspective, we have come very far. We have 33 agreements. So we should really be at the end of this process. So in that sense, I am optimistic that Mr. Lajčák and Escobar can bring this forward. But what is lacking here is the trust between the two leaders. You were kind enough in the beginning to mention my previous experience in many mediation processes, and that experience tells me that you need to have trust between leaders. You need to sit down, not just for one day in Brussels, but you need to sit down for days and weeks together and really discuss the most difficult.
A jel vidite volju među pregovaračima za tako nešto? Pre svega mislim na Kurtija i Vučića, da sednu i da razgovaraju ne jedan dan, nego nedeljama ili mesecima, dok ne dođu do rješenja.
There's some will, I think there's some will. At the moment, this is in the hands of Mr. Lajčák and Mr. Escobar, of course, and they have decided to have this sort of shuttle diplomacy where they go to Pristina and they go to Belgrade. The Swedish EU presidency fully support them, of course, but there might be room to consider having longer periods of meetings between the two leaders, the Serbian president and the Kosovo prime minister, according to the lines that I described.
Mnogo se govori o francusko-nemačkom predlogu kao rješenju. Jeste li vi upoznati sa ovim predlogom i koliko je on pozitivan i za jednu i za drugu stranu? Koliko pozitivnog može da donese?
I'm afraid I have not been privy to the so-called Franco-German proposal. I think, and rightly so, Mr. Lajčák is holding this plan very close to his chest. In my previous experience in mediation processes, I would have done the same. So I fully respect Mr. Lajčák in the way he's operating with this. So I've not seen it, but I've seen in the media. I don't know if that's true or not. Was in the media. I think one prospect, if this is true, would be to try the German, the so-called the West and Eastern German plan, where you don't give full recognition, but you tolerate both sides, and you can move ahead with solving some of the other issues. So in that sense, it's looking promising. But I've not been privy to the text in the plan.
Malo čas ste pomenuli da je mnogo toga postignuto u dijalogu, da su brojni sporazumi postignuti. Međutim, ono oko čega se kosovska strana ne slaže jeste formiranje zajednice srpskih opština. Tu postoji veliki otpor aktuelne vlade. Kakav je vaš stav po pitanju zajednice srpskih opština?
No, but here we've been very clear. We are unified from the international community side here. We fully stress upon both parties that all past agreements must be implemented. you cannot have a new government and then change everything again. And then what happens next time you have a new government? What happens if the other side will change government? So all the past agreements must be implemented, and that's including the what we say, the ASM, the Association of Serbian Municipalities as well. That needs to be implemented as soon as possible.
A može li primjer Olandskih ostrva kao uspešan primjer teritorijalne autonomije da bude neka vrsta putokaza prilikom njenog eventualnog formiranja?
Well, we are certainly very pleased with the whole setup with the Åland Islands between Sweden and Finland. You may recall that Finland became independent from Russia at the end of the First World War. And then the question arises, what would happen with islands? And the islands are predominantly Swedish-speaking. There was even a referendum that clearly indicated that the populations on these islands wanted to join Sweden. But Sweden and Finland decided to hand over this process to the newly established League of Nations and to establish this in a court, in international court. And they decided in Finland's favor. And so ever since then, the Åland Islands have happily so been part of Finland. They have a strong autonomy. They have their own flag. It's a demilitarized zone. So I'm sure that you can pick some of the experiences from the Åland Islands to the Western Balkans.
Hajde da se vratimo za trenutak na slogan zelenije, slobodnije, sigurnije. Pre svega me zanima ovo sigurnije. Kako po vašem mišljenju, odnosno koliko je po vašem mišljenju Kosovo sigurno mesto za život? Pritom ne mislim samo na sigurnost kao egzistencijalno pitanje, već na bezbednost građana. Videli smo nedavno, odnosno pred pravoslavni Božić, slučaj ranjavanja jednog deteta, jednog mladića iz okoline Štrpca. Na njih je pucao pripadnik kosovskih bezbednosnih snaga. Je li Kosovo sigurno mesto za život, pre svega srpske zajednice?
Well, in general, I would say that Kosovo is a safe place to live in. Now, the tensions up in the north has, of course, destabilized the situation in the four municipalities, and it is a security vacuum at the moment in these four municipalities. So there is a need to improve the situation in the four municipalities. But in general, I believe that Kosovo is a safe place, and it's a safe place for Kosovo Serbs as well. I mean, I was of course saddened to hear about the shooting in Sturpce, right? And we of course completely condemn that particular shooting, right? And I'm very pleased that the Kosovo Prime Minister was out in media very quickly after the incident and condemned the shootings. I'm very pleased how he handled that situation. But then, of course, you have a case of domestic violence, for example, in Kosovo, which is a challenge. That is something that needs to be focused much more on than the security situation, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Međutim, moram da napomenem i ono što je juče rekao direktor Kancelarije Vlade Srbije za Kosovo i Metohiju, Petar Petković, inače glavni pregovarač Srbije u dijalogu sa Prištinom. On je izneo podatak da je tokom prošle godine zabeleženo više od 280 etnički motivisanih incidenata na Kosovu. Tu se misli na napade na Srbe, na hapšenje Srba, na ugrožavanje lične i imovine Srpske pravoslavne crkve. Kako vam deluje taj podatak?
I must say I completely disagree with him on this. I do not agree with that description of the situation. I believe that there needs to be a higher representation of non-majorities in state institutions. I believe that the Serbian language should be used much more in the state institutions, and that the translation should be done all the time in the Serbian language in the parliament. So there are many things where we need to strengthen the support and the security for the non-majorities' interests, including securing the cultural heritage in Kosovo. I believe that the constitutional court's independence in any country is of absolutely essence if you want to become a modern democratic country. So all the decisions that the constitutional court is making needs to be implemented.
Na početku ove emisije ste rekli da ste na neki način zadovoljni kako se Kosovo ekonomski razvilo. Pomenuli ste da se mnogo toga izgradilo, da ima mnogo restorana i tako dalje. Koliko ekonomskom razvoju Kosova pomaže vaša država i koji su to projekti i kompanije koje ulažu u Kosovo, u razvoj Kosova?
Well, first of all, we have our development support to 30 million euros per year to Kosovo, and the focus there is on environment, democracy and human rights, economic development and peaceful dialogues. But so one of the 4 pillars is economic development. So we're really trying to support the state institutions to attract more investments. But to answer your question, the Swedish company Ericsson just won the bid to upgrade the Kosovo telecommunication network. So they have opened an office here in Pristina. They will open a research and development center in Pristina, employing 10 people. So I'm very pleased to announce this. A research and development center is very important because that may also lead to other investments in the future. H&M, you may know the store H&M, and they open up in Albin Mall. Yes, indeed. We have also Volvo cars in Kosovo, selling cars here, and we have Atlas Copco selling mining equipment to some of the mines in Kosovo as well. But we need to be doing more on this. If you look at the trade balance between Sweden and Kosovo, it's quite low. And that is really my challenge to try and increase that. So what I'm focusing on at the moment is to try to see where the Swedish wood processing industry and furniture industries could start production in Kosovo. So that's what we're focusing on at the moment. We're having several meetings next week on this particular topic. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Ok, i posljednje pitanje za kraj. Švedska se ovdje doživljava kao zemlja srećnih i zadovoljnih ljudi sa visokim standardom, gdje je sloboda medija na visokom nivou. Zapravo Švedska je druga zemlja u svetu po slobodi medija. Novinari su zaštićeni na sve moguće načine. U to sam se uverila ja lično prilikom nedavnog boravka u Stokholmu. Međutim, ono što me zanima je, mi se ovdje stalno suočavamo sa dezinformacijama i sa lažnim vestima. Da li su i koliko prisutne dezinformacije u vašoj zemlji i ako jesu, kako se sa tim problemom nosite?
Well, I'm sure to a certain degree that we we have the so-called fake news phenomena in Sweden as well as in any other country. The best way to deal with this is to have several independent TV and radio stations. And of course to have democracy and as many political parties as possible. And the freedom of speech is also very helpful in this, that anyone can speak out. So that's the way we deal with this. I think there is a need to strengthen some of the media institutions in this country as well. I mean, you have an abundance of online newspapers and several private TV institutions here, but I still believe that there is a need to look into how we can strengthen the independence of some of the media institutions in Kosovo as well.
Gospodine Vesterlund, hvala vam mnogo što ste govorili za Radio Kim i što ste bili gost ove emisije.
Hvala lepo.
Ponovo ste gledali Dogovor, mi se vidimo za nedelju dana. Prijetno.